Focus Blast forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent banks a boatload of energy and sends out Poliwrath. A very nice snipe. Or so you might think. But there's one issue, trainer. When shields are down, Shadow Magnezone goes to town. We come in, win the charge move priority event, and Poliwrath's going to be straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up, because today is going to be a roller coaster of emotions. We have got big booms going off left, right and centre. Today I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I avoid 4-turn moves like the plague, especially in the Ultra League where you've got a lot of 3-turn move users. Stuff like Hex, Snarl and Double Kick, it makes lining up your fast moves incredibly difficult. But we like to set a challenge and we're here for that entertainment. So we're running a very fun, unique take on a common line, Dragonite Double Steel. But trust me, you've never seen this variant before. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, we lead Shadow Dragonite into the mirror. Of course, when running an ABB team, you always want to pivot. We're going to be safe switching Shadow Registeel, hoping to draw out the opponent's hardest Magnezone answer. We catch the Dragon Claw. The opponent sends out Skeledirge. Luckily for me, Magnezone now doesn't have to see it. Registeel, the normal variant, is ranked number 1 on PvPoke, and that is because it is very bulky and able to absorb damage. The Shadow variant hits harder, but it still doesn't one-shot shit. Well, at least not in neutral situations anyway, and it gets deleted very quickly. So would I recommend Shadow Registeel? Of course not. However, it does its role on the team. I send back out Dragonite, fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw forces a Protect Shield. The opponent now incredibly low, and if they blind throw, which they do, that Volt Switch will be taking them out and Magnezone will remain at full health. The opponent YOLOs the Shadow Ball. The final Pokemon is for Alligator. We've got to be mindful of the opponent looking to make that catch. We hold our energy, farm up to the double Wild Charge. You know the drill. The first Wild Charge will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second Wild Charge is going to be all she wrote Magnezone getting off the video with a big boom moment. Heading into the next battle, we see the fire type in the lead. Of course, this is exactly where the team wants to see it, and this is Dragonite's sole purpose. Of course, we're not going to say switch out. We are going to commit a shield on the disarmor voice. The opponent then pivots out into Gliscopod. We're going to look for the chip and dip. If the opponent doesn't shield this Dragon Claw, which they don't, we're just going to send in zone and commit to the full Volt Switch farm down. Of course, Skeledirge going to be a dreadful matchup. However, Wild Charges should be forcing Protect Shields. I'm really hoping I reach the double. Let's see how much this Incinerate does. 4-turn into 5-turn. Optimal timing is 1 and throw, which I do. You can see that Incinerate did absurd damage. I'm going to need new mechanics to get off the next Wild Charge. The game says, not today, trainer, but we have at least got shield parity. We're now going to send back out Dragonite, fire off the Dragon Claw. Skeledirge very quickly finding itself in Dragon Claw range. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield, and there is 0 chance of lock-on farming this down, so we're going to match. The opponent then sends out Poliwrath. We've just got to bank a charge move and pivot, but for no reason whatsoever, we anticipate the opponent getting very horny to spam the Icy Wind, which we catch on Registeel. They have now lowered my attack, but no attack drop will be saving this opponent from that big Zap Cannon coverage. The opponent fires off the Scald. Registeel withstands the damage, and Registeel is about to get in on that big boom action. Get that Poliwrath out of here. Skeledirge is going to be able to Incinerate farm down. We've got the charge move bank. We're going to win charge move priority event, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Virizion in the lead. This thing does have access to Stone Edge, which they're going to reach after 5 double kicks. This opponent throws after only 4. I'm thinking Leaf Blade. Holy crap, that's a resisted close combat, and that did a lot of damage. The opponent then safe switches into Giratina. We fire off the Dragon Claw, which lands where they're going to farm up, not only banking the Dragon Claw, but catching the resisted Dragon Claw onto my very own basic bitch tin can. Dr. Beep Beep out here can only hit Giratina for resisted with the Zap Cannon. However, they have found themselves very low after tanking the Dragon Claw. I fire off the Zap Cannon, go for an undercharge, wanting to lock on farm down. We do get a very small farm down, but not anywhere near as much as I wanted. The opponent sends back out Virizion, and it's time to get boomed. The opponent fires off the close combat, one-shotting us, vanquishing us back to our Pokeball. I'm going to wait out my time as they are misaligned. I send out Dragonite. The opponent then sends out Tapu Fini. I fire off the single resisted superpower, not only to allow my switch timer to call off, I'm hoping to put this thing into full Volt Switch farm down range. The opponent throws an alignment, and that is going to give me the perfect opportunity to Volt Switch all the way down. As I said in the intro, the correct fast move timing of 4 turn into 3 turn would be to to and fro, but I'm already capped on energy, so fire off the first mirror shot immediately. I then commit to throwing at good timing, and you can see the opponent able to outpace. So again, 4 turn into 3 turn is very difficult in this meta. Again, I just throw 1, giving away 2 free turns, which is suboptimal, but mirror shot forces the opponent's final protection. I pivot out into Dragonite, the opponent forced to throw. Leaf Blade will be secure on the knockout. We've got the Wild Charge banked, of course, going to be resisted, but going to be more than enough from this range. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the Bear Trap, Galarian Stunfisk. Who the hell used this in Season 18? This thing beats the entirety of my team. The opponent farms up to 10 Mud Shots, which is the double Rock Slide, which is where I anticipate them throwing, and we catch onto Registeel. This is by no means a good matchup. We're just going to completely sacrifice the tin can. The opponent tries their luck at masturbating, and we do not shield baits in this household. That allows me to fire off the Focus Blast, and from a rough spot, we've now gained ourselves shield advantage. I've got no intention of shielding Regi. Trainer, enjoy yourself. The opponent baits once again. Trainer, that isn't the right move. Come on, throw the Earthquake, I dare you. Finally, the opponent does throw the Earthquake, depleting their energy. This is now somewhat playable. I'm going to wait out my clock, send back out Dragonite, and there is no baiting. Does the opponent respect the damage? Get that Stunfisk out of here. Switch timer pops up. I pivot into Magnezone to reset my debuff, and the opponent sends out Gator. Shadow Magnezone cannot tank a hit for shit, so I do shield up the Hydro Cannon. The opponent then sends out Ampharos. 1 Wild Charge won't be lethal, so we fire off the Mirror Shot, fishing for the debuff, which we get. We're then going to overfarm and full send the Wild Charge. Does the opponent want to invest their final protection? They do not. Wild Charge actually isn't lethal. We're able to reach the Mirror Shot on the CMP tie. The opponent just completely sacked Ampharos. Back out comes Gator. Switch timer pops up again. We pivot into Dragonite. Dragon Breath farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we see Zygarde in the lead. Not particularly fantastic for Dragonite or the backline. We farm up, catch the crunch onto Registeel. Luckily for me, the opponent didn't hold their energy. Although saying that, Zygarde hits like a wet noodle, so I wouldn't really give a crap about the Earthquake coverage, if I'm being brutally honest. The opponent answers my Registeel Say Switch with Ampharos, and again, it's very nice to bait this thing out. We're going to fire off the Focus Blast. Focus Blast goes unshielded, and again, you can see the downside of using Shadow Regi is 1 Focus Blast just isn't enough to get the job done. However, the opponent gets greedy, allows Registeel to make the second blast, and now they even dump energy. We have obtained a shield advantage. However, I've got no idea just how we're going to get rid of that Zygarde yet. We send out Dragonite. I'm going to shield this up and look to Dragon Breath farm all the way down. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, pivot back out into Zygarde. I really need this Dragon Claw to go unshielded, which it does, and I'm forced to pivot into Magnezone. Not only is Zygarde insanely bulky, they actually triple resist electric. However, we're going to try and aggressively Volt Switch farm this down. You can see it just isn't happening, so I'm forced to throw the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot actually forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and then they instant throw. We're going to commit a Protect Shield here and commit to the farm down. Can we get it? Get that Zygarde out of it. Come on, Magnezone. We do get it, but we're so low. Back out comes Ampharos. I really hope they're in Mirror Shot range. You can see they do survive, and I'm not actually tapping here. I anticipated my switch timer popping up, which it does. So we're able to snipe, banking the Wild Charge. The opponent's final Pokemon is Venusaur. We land the Dragon Claw, and that is going to win us the game, as they're now in Wild Charge range. Frenzy Plant does secure the knockout. We've got the Wild Charge banked, and we're somehow going to pull off the dub. GG's, and thanks for playing. So what helped me win that game was the fact that I recognised my timer was about to be popping up. I stopped tapping, not getting caught in the Volt Switch animation. I was able to snipe with Dragonite and bank my charge move. In the next battle, we see Giratina in the lead. We catch the Dragon Claw onto Registeel, and we draw out Galvantula. Galvantula does resist all of our charge moves, and this opponent's even looking to debuff me, meaning they're going to do even less damage. We're just going to go for the Zap Cannon. Both moves are resisted, so we may as well fish for the debuff. Zap Cannon lands. It doesn't look like we get the attack drop. It's a 66% chance. Whenever I play against Regi, I always get debuff, but apparently I don't debuff anyone. You love to see it. However, we are able to reach a second Zap Cannon, and I imagine this forces a Protect Shield, which is good, but what isn't good is the opponent getting a very aggressive Volt Switch farm down. We haven't really got anything that wants to tank this energy. We send out Dragonite. Spiders love to bait. We're going to call the lunge, which the opponent throws. As I no shielded the first one, we're going to anticipate the opponent trying to sneak through the discharge, and we are living rent-free in this opponent's head. We now get a very nice Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent sends out Muck, and we see their pivot into Magnezone. I need to save my final Protect Shield for Dragonite, so we're going to no shield this, and this Dark Pulse, which only hits for neutral, nearly one-shots us. Holy crap, back out comes Giratina. We're going to fire off one Mirror Shot, fishing for the attack drop, then we're going to lower our own defense, giving Giratina less farm. Wild Charge is resisted, but still does a solid chunk of damage. It's now all down to Dragonite. Dragonite is rapidly running out of HP. We shield at the Dragon Claw, get the Dragon Breath farm down. We're now in the red. We throw one Dragon Breath, and we're going to fire off the Dragon Claw. If this goes shielded, I think Shadow and Shadow Crime, they're probably very close to Superpower range. Again, I throw one Dragon Breath and the Superpower. Superpower isn't lethal, but we manage to Dragon Breath farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we see Gator in the lead. I anticipate the opponent throwing the Hydro Cannon, however at least they're probably going to build up to the Ice Beam, so I allow the opponent to build up to the beam and we save switch into Registeel. Of course the opponent baits, which is pretty unfortunate, and they then send out Charizard. Yikes. The opponent allows me to reach the Zap Cannon, which will of course be forcing a Protect Shield, but this Charizard is just farming up so much energy, and we've got nothing that wants to tank it. We're in so much trouble. We try to call the bait, the opponent full sends their Blast Burn, and fuck, we're in so much trouble. I send out Zone, hoping the opponent insta throw the Dragon Claw, they do not. We then get baited. Oh man, we're in shambles. We're then going to look to catch the Blast Burn back onto Dragonite, and very quickly I think, do I want to catch a Blast Burn? Probably not, so I'm forced to burn my final shield. We're going to be able to outpace this Charizard to the back-to-back Dragon Claws, and we do win CMP. The opponent recognised that. Just let the Charizard go down, back out, comes Gator. We're going to fire off the Dragon Claw. This Dragon Claw will be lethal from this range. The opponent chooses to invest their final Protect Shield. Hydro Cannon will be securing the knockout, and we're going to hope Magnezone can nuke whatever's in the back. We send out Zone, and it's Venusaur in the back. I'm just going to continue to farm up. I don't want to lower my own defense before the opponent throws. They throw the Frenzy Plant, and ouch, that hurt. We're then going to return fire with the double Wild Charge. Would one Mirror Shot and one Wild Charge have knocked out? I think perhaps, and I probably should have went for that play. As you're going to see now, after double debuffing my own defense, the opponent is going to be able to Shadow Claw farm me down, and we're going to lose that game. I think I was in shambles from start to finish, but this team is quite hard to run, I'll be brutally honest. These are quite hand-selected battles, just for your entertainment purposes. In the next battle, we see the big jellyfish in the lead. We attempt to catch the Shadow Ball onto Registeel, and you can see Shadow Registeel didn't tank that all that well. The opponent continued to stay in. We do tank 2 Shadow Balls, but we're going to left quite low. You can see we're already in the red. I see the opponent attempts to catch a Zap Cannon, so I react, throw the Focus Blast, but either way, both moves are resisted, but Focus Blast is slightly cheaper. And as we actually threw the cheaper move, we're able to reach Focus Blast number 2 onto the incoming Dragalge, getting them into the red. The opponent is now 1 Dragon Tail off the Outrage. However, I don't even really fancy tanking an Aqua Tail, so we're just going to send out Dragonite, throw the Dragon Claw instantly, just looking to get this thing out of here. The opponent sacked Dragalge. We've both still got 2 shields apiece. Let's see what their third is. Magnezone doesn't really operate particularly well when shields are up. The opponent actually sends out Alolan Ninetales. I try and throw 5, which is good timing. However, it looks like I got a 1-turn switch. The opponent's able to catch the Mirror Shot onto Jellicent, but undeterred, we're going to throw 2 Volt Switches and the Wild Charge for optimal fast move timing. Anticipate the opponent no shielding, which they do. Back out comes Ninetales again. We're going to throw out Discipline timing, 2 Volt Switches and the Mirror Shot. We need to force both protections. The first Mirror Shot does force the protection. We're able to withstand the charms. We reach the next Mirror Shot. This will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and it's time for Dragonite to be an Alolan Ninetales counter confirmed. Superpower hits for neutral and going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Machamp in the lead. I think Machamp's always bait. However, if I call this bait wrong, we're just going to get 1 shot and this thing is going to run through my team. We fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw force a Protect Shield. I'm so pissed off I shield this move. Of course the opponent baits. I need to save Dragonite and I want to save a Protect Shield. So we're going to look to catch the Rock Slide onto Registeel. With the Dragon Breath damage, that should be lock on farm down range. At least you would think, but you're going to see the opponent even makes a cross chop. Oh, give me a break game. We do manage to lock on farm down, but we're so low. I'm worried I'm getting sniped. We're spamming the zap cannon, and that is definitely not the play as the opponent sends out Swampert. Luckily for me, the opponent craps their pants, putting up that protect shield. I was hoping with Machamp out of the way, the opponent didn't have another steel type counter, but of course they do in the form of Swampert. The opponent banked their energy, send out Umbreon. We're going to fire off the Superpower. Superpower hopefully puts this thing into Volt Switch farm down range. Let's see. It's going to be very important not to allow Swampert loads of free farm as we're in Hydro Cannon range. If they reach the double, we're going to lose this battle. Umbreon's probably one of the only Pokemon that Magnezone can face and tank 2 charge moves. I allow myself to get incredibly low. We fire off the Mirror Shot, secure on the knockout. We leave with the Wild Charge, which is single resisted, and we're going to throw instantly. This is going to do a solid amount of chip damage and lower my defense, minimizing the free farm. Swampert does get the Mud Shot farm down. We come back out, fire off the Superpower, and we're going to be able to take that game. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Swampert in the lead. Definitely want to keep Dragonite aligned with this thing at all costs. Dragons do resist water, but Hydro Cannon is a very busted move. And 2 do come quite close to knocking out. The opponent sends out Mandibuzz. We're going to build up a boatload of energy and then send out Registeel. Of course, an argument could be made that I could come into Magnezone. I'm anticipating perhaps the opponent is attempting to draw out something like an Ampharos. We're going to save Magnezone in the back, knowing Registeel will be able to keep us alignment. Mandibuzz and Jellicent are quite a common pairing. I'm hoping it's Jellicent in the back. We fire off the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon puts this Mandibuzz into lock-on farm down range. We're going to be able to tank a few moves from this Mandibuzz because they're so bulky. They're essentially Umbreon of the sky, doing very little damage output, just sticking around for ages. The opponent only settles for an air release, although I'm not really sure if that's good or bad, as we're now in a very awkward range where the opponent could farm us down for so much energy. Back out comes Swampert, the first Focus Blast, forces the protection. The opponent is committing to the aggressive Mud Shot farm down, so Regi makes the second Focus Blast, and the opponent is now all shields down. The opponent banks a boatload of energy snipe with Poliwrath, a very nice play trainer, or at least so you would think. But there's one problem. When shields are down, Shadow Magnezone absolutely goes to town. We send out Zone, win the charge move prior event, get that Poliwrath out of here. We pivot back into Dragonite. We're just going to YOLO the Superpower, hoping this ends the game. Superpower actually isn't quite lethal, but this game is so over. The opponent playing out the inevitable. We're just going to double shield up the Hydro Cannons, commit to the Dragon Breath farm down, and we're going to be able to take that game. Magnezone claiming yet another victim. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Dragonite into Shadow Ampharos. A pretty neutral matchup, but as always, as we're on an ABB team, we're going to pivot into the big basic bitch tin can, looking to absorb the energy. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing. Looks like the opponent perhaps doesn't have a response for a steel type, or this is their steel type counter as the opponent continued to stay in. We absorb the Brutal Swing. We're going to return fire with the Focus Blast. As we've already done some chip damage, this Focus Blast will knock out and the opponent choose to invest that Protect Shield. Registeel has obtained our shield advantage and we're just going to let it go. Brutal Swing does secure the knockout. I'm going to have to wait out my full clock as I'm switch locked and the opponent isn't. I send out Dragonite. We're going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will be securing the knockout from this range and hopefully my timer's up after this. You can see my timer is up. The opponent sends out Togekiss. We see the instant pivot into Magnezone and the opponent's final Pokemon is Jellicent. We go straight for the Wild Charge. The opponent only with 1 Protect Shield, 2 hide behind, choose to invest it here, but trainer, this game's over. If you're wearing headphones, turn the volume down. If you're sensitive to harsh language, probably turn the volume to 0 because we're about to start trash talking. We shield up the both surfs. We farm up to the double Wild Charge. Jellicent is quite low. This one isn't really worthy of a boom. We're just going to go with Bop. Back out comes Togekiss. The Wild Charge locked. It's loaded. Hi Togekiss. Bye Togekiss. Get fucking wrecked. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see a matchup you're more commonly going to see in the Master League. The opponent safe switches into Skeledirge and fuck. We're just going to have to stay in. This is a matchup we can win in the 2 shields, although we kind of need Dragonite as well to deal with Giratina. We shield up the Disarming Voice. We're going to return fire with the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw does force a Protect Shield back. The opponent continuing to overfarm. So we're going to take the initiative and look to try and get this Skeledirge out of here. The opponent happy to go all in on Dirge, and we're going to go all in on Dragonite. I really like this play from the opponent. They YOLO the Shadow Ball, perhaps anticipating me looking to catch the disarming voice on something that does resist Fairy. We're now all shields down, let's see what the opponent brings out. The opponent switches into Tapu Fini, we see the pivot into Registeel. The opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Zap Cannon onto Giratina, although that is the move I was going to throw anyway. We've managed to now align that Tapu Fini against our Magnezone in the endgame, which should be hopefully a good situation, although the opponent does have a Surf banked. Giratina Origin, a lot better than Giratina altered into Registeel due to the fact they've got access to Shadow Ball, but you can see they don't tank charge moves particularly well. Zap Cannon manages to lower Giratina's attack. If this move doesn't knock out, which it doesn't, switch timer pops up, I send out Zone. Zone looks for the Volt Switch farm down, which we get. We leave with the Wild Charge, and the opponent says, "You're not nuking me today," and they're going to concede the match. In the next battle, we see yet another Ampharos. Same as always, look to catch the charge move onto the tin can. Ampharos leads are always so random. You can pretty much have anything in the back. This opponent sends out Channel Mascot Drapion, although this is a purified version. Certainly not something you'll see on my channel, the home of Shadow Pokemon. Although also, I think this opponent thinks Swampert is a myth. Weak to ground in the front and weak to ground in the back. We managed to force ourselves shield advantage in the mid game. That's kind of another thing I want to happen on this team. We're hoping that Regi is able to gain a shield advantage so Magnezone can sweep the back line. The opponent tried to throw on CMP. We've got no intentions of shielding up our tin can. We're just going to send out Dragonite. They're not in one move range. We're just going to shield once, massively over farm before firing off a Dragon Claw to secure the knockout. The opponent actually YOLO the Sludge Bomb, depleting all their energy and then pivot into Tentacruel. They're actually triple weak to Swampert, so if you want to climb, run Swampert. The opponent throws on alignment. Scold hits for neutral and actually does far too much damage. We're going to overfarm, fire off the Wild Charge, does the opponent respect the damage. Get that Tentacruel out of here, back out. Comes Ampharos and we're going for the kill shot. Again, does the opponent respect the damage? Back to back big booms. The opponent sends out Drapion. Look for the resisted. Poison Sting farm down and chalk that one up as a hat trick. Magnezone sweeps the back line. GG's and thanks for playing. Another Ampharos in the lead. Do I know what's in the back? Absolutely not. It could be anything at this stage, but as always, we're going to look to catch onto Registeel and see what the opponent wants to do. Sometimes they stay in, sometimes they bring out a pretty hard counter. It looks like this opponent happy to stay in, so this probably is their steel type counter. They might have flies in the back, which means Zone might cook. The opponent actually sends out Dragon Breath Giratina, and they've heavily misaligned the timer. We fire off the Zap Cannon. You can see the altered variant tanks that very easily. The opponent can take me out of a Shadow Sneak. They actually opt for their Dragon Claw. Hopefully we reach another Zap Cannon. We actually die at the charge move, and that's pretty brutal. We're going to send out Dragonite. They're not quite in Dragon Claw range yet, so we're just going to shield this move up. Over Farmer Touch, although these Dragon Breaths are doing so much damage. We are going to have to fire off the Dragon Claw. Does the opponent want to shield Giratina? No, they don't. We're actually at shield disadvantage, which definitely isn't what Zone wants. Back out comes Ampharos. We bank a boatload of energy. Pivot one turn before the opponent reaches the Thunder Punch, which allows us to sneak a Volt Switch, drawing out for Alligator. Can we win this game? We're going to shield up the Hydro Cannon. We're going to throw 2 Volt Switches and go for a bait. I don't even think it's that risky at this stage. The opponent is kind of forced to shield. The opponent does shield the first. We're able to win the CMP tie. I think this bait's unnecessary, but the opponent does invest that Protect Shield. Hydro Cannon will be secure in the knockout. We've got the Dragon Claw banked, so this game should be over. I actually overtap. I think that's forced overtap, because it's quite laggy. So we take the Shadow Claw. Luckily, we do survive it, and we're going to be able to Dragon Breath farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we see Giratina in the lead. This opponent is on Shadow Claw or Dragon Breath. It's hard to tell. You can see I'm stuttering, hence I don't make the catch. We're in Season 18, and you can see evidently this game is still as broken as it ever was. You can now see quite clearly they're on Shadow Claw. So we throw the Dragon Claw, forcing a Protect Shield just before the opponent reaches the next Dragon Claw. And then we say switch, as always, into Registeel and we draw out Cobalion. This is where you're going to see the Shadow variant is so much worse than the regular. Sacred Sword does so much damage. The opponent only 1 Protect Shield, 2 High Beyond. We full send the Focus Blast. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oof. The opponent shields, and that is rough. The opponent's now at the double charge move as well. That isn't CMP, so of course I can't shield. The opponent's now going to be 2 double kicks off the Stone Edge. We're going to send out Dragonite and hope to outpace. We send out Dragonite. We actually don't outpace. We're able to reach the superpower on the CMP tie. Is superpower enough to knock out? Oof, the opponent just survives. We're just going to put it all on zone. They're definitely in 1 Volt Switch range, which means we'll only take 1 double kick. The opponent actually save Cobalion, send out Giratina. We've still got 1 Protect Shield. We're not going to shield this move up again. Shadow Sneak does far too much damage. We're going to throw 2 Volt Switches, throw the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot will be lethal from this range. What is that third? The opponent's third Pokemon is Feraligatr, and this is GG's. We're now at the double Wild Charge. We're going to shield up the incoming Hydro Cannon. You know the drill. Wild Charge, going to be massive overkill. Get that Feraligatr out of here, and we're going to go for the 1 HP bop. Not really any need to Wild Charge, but you may as well throw it when you've got it. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the final battle of the video. And sometimes you've got to say the best till last. We see a dreadful lead. Clefable, we save switch into Registeel, and it looks like RPS for the loss. Although at least we're going to gain ourselves shield advantage in the mid-game. Zap Cannon, of course, forces a Protect Shield. My Registeel has absolutely garbage IVs, but I'm hoping I can make 1 further zap. Do we get there? Get there, Regi. Get there, Regi. Let's go. The opponent, of course, going to 2-shield in the mid-game. But with shields down, hopefully Magnezone will go to town. Although this Talonflame has quite a lot of energy. We're going to look to call the Flame Charge bait. Despite having 2 Protect Shields. Jamie Finn, you've got huge cojones, son. If I do say so myself, the opponent throws the fly. We are going to shield the next one up. We need to knock this thing out before they reach the next charge move. We overfarm, fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw doesn't quite knock out, but 1 more Dragon Breath does get the job done, and it's zone time. Back out comes Clefable. To be honest, a Moonblast does quite a lot of damage. We're not going to shield it up, but the opponent actually throw the Meteor Mash Trainer. That is double resisted. The opponent continued to stay in, so at this stage, we're just going to shield. The opponent again throw the Meteor Mash. We're now at the double Wild Charge. We look to throw it. The opponent send out Charizard, sacrificing it to the Pokegods. 1 shot from absolute full health. Back out comes Clefable, and Magnezone ends the video with back-to-back big booms. So that is going to draw to a close today's showcase. Those were very hand-selected battles, purely for your entertainment purpose only. But let's be honest, I think most people watch my channel for entertainment. I don't think you think, oh, I need a strong team for climbing. Let's see what Jamie Finn's running. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.